there's co-parenting in that, right?
Correct.
And how do you guys handle that? Is your ex still involved in your child's life? And does his ex still, see the child, right? How do you guys handle that?
What we've actually done is to sort of like keep our partners away. So for instance, I'll protect him from my ex and he'll do the same. So, we don't have that relationship where the father of my son will speak to him or the mother of his child will speak to me. We, in fact, have an understanding with each other to say, you manage that relationship and I'll also manage the relationship.
We are recording this podcast from Indabila Lifestyle Corner. Shout out to Indabila for having us. Sanibonani Dumelang Abshenaye. I'm your host, Themba Mativela. Welcome to another episode of TVC Parents, where we try and indulge in parenting and everything that has to do with parenthood. Today, we have our guest, Carol Mugwena. So Carol will be sharing her journey in parenting and everything that has to do with parenting. Hi, Carol. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Carol. Can you please tell us more about yourself?
Okay. So my name is Carol. My other name is Kensani. My surname is Mugwena. Maybe something people don't know. I'm Tsonga.
Okay.
Born, raised in Johannesburg. Home is in Palabura. Started parenthood at 21.
Yeah.
Started parenthood at 21. Started my career immediately after high school. So I have always been interested in business. Yeah. I think a few people might know me, through that. But yeah, basically over and above that, just been going through life quite well and just enjoying the parenting journey. Yeah.
So are you married? Are you?
Yes,
okay.
Currently am.
Currently am, okay.
The second one though, which is something I think we'll maybe go into as we go along.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. And now tell us about your journey in parenting.
So my journey in parenting is still interesting, has always been interesting. I think there's been many lessons along the way. If I could just start with, having an unplanned pregnancy to begin with. I think, in the beginning it's quite difficult. I think it also depends a lot on the relationship that you have with your family, especially your parents. So I think for me that was quite a difficult phase because I couldn't come out with it. So along the way, obviously parents will eventually find out. So obviously they found out and then, we did right by following the marriage route as a result.
Okay, so you conceived the child before getting married?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and then how was that? I mean, I'm guessing you were young. How old were you?
I was 21 years of age, quite young actually. Yeah, interestingly, at the time, I didn't think I was that young. But now, as you grow older and you think back, you actually realize, wow, I was quite a kid, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you got married in that very same age?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct, yeah. At 21 still.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your parenting style then when you were married?
I think it was not that great, to be quite honest. Not that great in a sense that I think most of the times I was absent. Absent in a sense that, I wanted to just keep working a lot. As a result, worked a lot of overtime. And I think it just came with the pressure of wanting the best for your child. Of which when I think about it now, it was actually not the best thing to do. But then that's the nice part, at least making mistakes in the beginning. And then as you go along, trying to rectify as best as you can. I think my son grew up with a lot of helpers, which is something, I wouldn't recommend, now moving forward because of the pressures at that time of just wanting to make ends meet. So that was the experience.
And of course, being a wife and...
Absolutely. So being a wife as well, having to tend to your family, you are at that young age and, trying to get your career kicked off as well. So I think it was very challenging. But I think in general, I'm just quite courageous. So I think I pulled through that quite well, according to me. Other people may think differently, but I think I tried my best, for what I knew then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then moving forward, you get separated?
Yeah, so moving forward, you get separated. That's a very difficult thing, firstly, very difficult. Because, marriage in itself is difficult because it's a first-time experience. So then with the separation and the kid involved makes it even more challenging because now it's the kid that has to understand this is now the circumstances, and they sort of like have to adjust. So that adjustment took us quite a bit, but unfortunately I just had to be strong for that time.
Yeah, I get you.
And yeah, it was challenging, but eventually we did pull through, and it's just something I felt that needed to happen in order for the child to actually get the best that they could. Because unfortunately, the relationship wasn't working as what I thought it would. So the separation came more for the child because I felt like the relationship in itself is going to impact the kid. Hence the decision. So it wasn't really a decision for myself, but more for the kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you guys got separated, who took custody of the child?
So it was myself,
okay.
Yes, as the working parent. And I had to come back home, move back home with my parents. Yeah. I think also a big shout out to my mom. She just welcomed us back so nicely. She was very warm, but also in that there's challenges again, because, when you're home and you are trying to parent, you are also a parent to your parent. Yeah. Sorry, you're also a child to your parent.
Yeah.
So it becomes difficult in forcing, what you think or how you want your child to grow up. Oh, yeah. So that was the challenge for me. And I think that's one of the things that pushed me to say, I need to be in a different space where I'll actually sort of like, build my own foundation. Yeah.
Also, mama bekakhuza nangapha ukhuza umntwana. Now ufuna ukuba umama emntwaneni wakho and
Exactly. So it makes it difficult also because, also the child doesn't know how to identify authority. Yeah. So it can be confusing for the kid as well, because they have to listen to you. They listen to Ukoko. Ukoko is saying something else, Mama is saying something different. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, who must I, at the same time, you don't want to be disrespectful to your parent. So you sort of like go with what they say, even though it's not something that you would necessarily agree to.
I get you.
So yeah.
So did you have like sort of rules or things that you wanted to impose to your child, or, indlela wena ubufuna ukumkhulisa ngayo as opposed to umama mhlambe yena for instance umntana ufuna ukuthi akhule akhonza ngendlela ethize okanye akhonza umama mhlambe ukhonza kwenye inkonzo, those type of things, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, so for me, that was really the main issue,
Okay.
Yeah. And to be quite honest, I don't think it's just myself. I think it happens with many other people. It's just that it's not everyone who's comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's to do with the older generation. They have certain beliefs, they have certain ways that they do things, like for instance, I think with our generation, you want to encourage your child to, do their best, reach for the sky, go overseas if that's what needs to happen, So I feel like most times our parents can be quite limiting, and they just want to keep your kid boxed. So even the way they think, how they express their ideas and views, it's always boxed to say, no, you're gonna work and you're gonna become this, and that's where it ends. Also from a religious perspective, I think we had a bit of a clash as well. And yeah, that's part of the piece that made me feel that no.
Okay.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah. No, okay, I get you. And then moving forward, you decide to move out of home because of all those things, right? And you meet someone. So tell us about that.
Okay, so moving out of home, I actually met the someone before I moved out of home, which was quite great, because I think at that point, being a parent, as that's the focus of the conversation, I think I was lucky, firstly, because he also has a kid. And I think I tried as much as I could to learn how he is as a parent. So I think that influenced a lot how our relationship developed. And, you know, as a result, that's why it was easy to sort of like take things to, you know, the next level, probably very quickly as well. Because I was quite impressed just with his parenting style, how he's there for his son, you know. So for me, I think, yeah, that's what really made the relationship amazing.
Is it?
Yeah.
And you guys live together now with
Yes.
his child and your child.
Correct.
Is it?
Correct.
And how do you handle that? I mean,
So, you know what? I don't know. I think, so, unpopular opinion. You know, we both believe that probably God, you know, put us together for that reason. Because I think as a couple, we make really amazing parents. To an extent that our parents are very happy with us parenting, you know, their grandchildren, which is then our children. I think also just how everything happened. It was very interesting and weird and great because our kids got along very quickly. The fact that they're also both boys, you know, more or less a similar age. So there's many challenges in between because now you also need to learn how to love the other child without having your child become jealous, you know, because those are some of the things that happen. But I think if you have a good partner who's understanding, supportive, willing to learn and grow with you, it makes the experience a little bit better.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it comes to discipline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, uyamshaya owakhe umshaya, and then, you know.
No. So it's not the case. And this is why I'm saying it's so interesting how it happened. If anything, I feel like we are more kinder to the other child, if that makes sense. And I think we actually do that automatically because it's not something we planned or spoke about, but I think it's something that we do automatically to complement each other and just make sure that, you know, we keep the relationship going and lively. Because obviously, should I behave in a way that he doesn't approve of towards his kids? So I always have him at the back of my mind. Yeah. So, okay, when I need to discipline, this is how I'm going to do it. I think another thing I learned a lot, which still like really helped just the relationship as a whole, is how to be extremely fair and objective. Generally, I think I'm a person who just goes with the flow, you know? So for instance, if we're going to the store to buy something, if I feel like his son doesn't have it, then I'll want to buy it for his son. But I've actually learned that that's not how it should go. If you are buying for one, you must also buy for the other, regardless if whether they have it or not,
It's
you
true,
know?
true.
So those are some of the lessons that you get to learn as you go along, and they bring a lot of harmony and balance.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he comes home with one kid's meal and you go akataya so
Correct, right?
yeah, you know, we take agalambang and he brings one kid's meal, you know, that, you know. Yeah.
Correct.
And I go be when he disciplines yours.
So I wouldn't say ubhlungu necessarily, but I think in the beginning, there is some sense of discomfort, you know, some sense of precaution that you think of, and I think it happens naturally as a parent. But I think now, as they work through building now their own relationship, you know, it becomes easy. So that's why, if anything, I think I would encourage that if you are going into a blended family, it's very important to learn how your partner deals with different dynamics, you know, understand how they get when they're upset, understand how they get when they're overexcited, you know, because it's small things like that that will determine how they treat the situation when those things now occur with the children involved.
Yeah.
So like as a simple example, you know, sometimes we do get upset, we fight like any other couple, you know. And a standard that we've developed is to say, if we have an argument, like I'll just take the kids and go out with them, so that, you know, that energy doesn't linger around for too long, because the kids can see. And it's so interesting because when we're unhappy, they're unhappy too. You know, so true. In a way, it's not a good thing, but it also helps us to try as much as possible to keep happy, because now we understand how our happiness impacts not just us, but just the environment.
Okay.
Right.
And how's the relationship with between the kids, you know, outside you guys? I mean, we all know siblings fight,
Yes.
Now, this is a different dynamic, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, laba umunye ubuya le, umunye ubuya le, you know,
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
and how's that relationship between the two of them?
So they are both very different to begin with. One is extremely outspoken and active. One is extremely calm, you know? So you can just imagine one will sometimes want to talk a lot when the other is not in that mood, you know? And it's kind of like how to find the balance. But what I've seen is that they themselves have tried so hard to adapt to each other. And to understand each other. So I've seen, like, you know, as they grow together, their communication becomes more and more open. So for instance, if the other one is talking nonstop, you know, the calm one will say, can we just not talk? You know, I don't feel like it. So I don't know if I would call it like children maturity or what, you know, but that's how they manage to work around their relationship. Also, if they need to report a fight or something, I think, you know, shame, we're actually doing quite well, you know, in being like objective, you know, to say, okay, what happened? Who's doing what? Please, you don't do this next time. You don't do this next time. And we always emphasize and enforce that, remember, you are brothers now. So you need to treat each other as such. So I think saying those kind of things also gives them some kind of light to say, okay, we have to make this work, kind of thing.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
So now, I'm going to throw you off a little.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
So, right, you, obviously there's that dynamic, yeah, the ex.
Yes.
From your side and from his side.
Yeah.
And then there's co-parenting in that, right?
Correct.
And how do you guys handle that? Is your ex still involved in your child's life? And does his ex still, you know, see the child, right? And how do you guys handle that?
Okay, so I think the dynamic is not that complicated, to be quite honest, for us though. And like luckily enough, because I know a lot of people who don't have it very easy, you know, when it comes to that. So what we've actually done is to sort of like keep our partners away. So for instance, I'll protect him from my ex and he'll do the same. So, you know, we don't have that relationship where the father of my son will speak to him or the mother of his child will speak to me. We, in fact, have an understanding with each other to say, you manage that relationship and I'll also manage the relationship. And then with whatever happens in between, then we'll sort of like always feed back to each other. Oh, by the way, I got a call from today from the dad, you know. This is what he said, this is what needs to happen. Oh, is it? Okay, cool, let's arrange this, let's arrange that. That's really how it works. That's what I'm saying, we're very fortunate. Because I know some people where they are screaming at each other, hey, yo, baby mama, whatever, you know. So luckily for us, it doesn't exist, Shem, to be quite honest. And I think it's because of the separation. Because I think another thing, it depends how certain separations happen. And I think most of the time, if the separation, you know, was not done out of goodwill, more especially, there will always be drama involved because there's always unresolved feelings, you know, there's always misunderstandings. So honestly, some advice is that it's best to keep those relationships as separate as possible, but also it's important to be very transparent with your partner. Because you don't want a situation where you are engaging on something with the kid and then your partner doesn't know and then they feel left out, you know, or they feel like they were not part of the process, but yet they are playing the parenting role. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it actually does. So there's never been instances whereby for instance, your ex is hounding you guys down about your child and he doesn't want this guy to discipline your child, such and such. Yeah? No. Never. They've never met. That's the thing too. Okay. Yeah. You know? So I think that's what creates that. But kids talk. I mean, when he's that side, he's like, yeah. Well, kids do talk. I am aware that my son does talk about my partner when he goes to his father and vice versa. But there's never like, you know, like feedback to say, or maybe, who's this guy? You know? Or I'm hearing my son say this and that, you know? And I think it's because we've kept the communications very limited to the kid. So, and maybe it's something we need to actually build as we go along. We haven't created that environment where there's like a friendship
that exists with the exes
Oh,
for
yeah.
the purpose of co-parenting.
Okay.
You know, we're not there as yet.
Would that be your advice? Would that be something that you'd advise someone for them to have harmony in the co-parenting situation?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that, so it depends on the level of maturity with your partner, with yourself as well. I think maybe specifically for women, women can be quite emotional, you know. So if you are not ready to engage someone, or if you yourself have unresolved feelings just on thinking about your partner with their ex, then don't engage, because you're bound to get into an argument, you know. So my advice, which has really worked for us, is to just keep the relationships as separate as possible. But when there is a need to engage, I think it's important to first just sit down and understand what you are going into, how you're going to address it, and you know how you will apply yourselves. Because for us, I think that's more or less the next step we need to take. It's just that we haven't been in a situation that forces us, you know, to sort of like say, okay, now it's time for you guys to meet. You know, that hasn't happened as yet. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Carol, tell us about your aspiration goals. You know, what you have, you know, for your kids, you know, and your little family.
Okay. So I think the first thing obviously is education. So initially, the kids were not living with us. They actually recently moved in. So that's another interesting dynamic, but it's something they've always wanted. So that's also giving us, you know, like a sense of ease to say we're meeting them where they, you know, where their expectations were. So it's just for them to have the right education, but more than anything, just know how to maneuver around life. Because ultimately, education is not always, I don't want to say the aim, but it's not always the reality. Right? You can be as educated, but not manage to get through life, educated, not get a job, those kind of things. So I think for me, what's important is just to teach them how to be firm, how to stand for themselves, how to find their way around life, and not think of life in one way, but have many different directions that they know they can go into, as long as they've built a base for themselves. Yeah. Then I think, yeah, our goal really is to have a very loving family, which is what I think we already have. So just to expand on that, I think, you know, my deepest fear, to be quite honest, is to see them grow up one day and not liking each other for some odd reason. So yeah, I think how they love each other now, it's very touching, it's very interesting, it's very unbelievable, unusual. So I just wish for them to continue in that way forever and ever. Amen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. And then so far, what has been your biggest highlight in parenting?
I think my biggest highlight would be that parenting will teach you a lot about yourself. I think parenting takes you back to your childhood traumas, and you learn to get a little bit more in touch with who you are. So I think with my instance, I grew up very unemotional, extremely unemotional, I believe. And I think with parenting, that's what I had to learn, to say, okay, you actually have to be that deep, you know, with your kid. You have to allow them the opportunity of love. You have to give them the time, care, and love, all of those things, which were all quite new to me. I think I was very transactional growing up. So parenting changed me in that sense, to say I've become more emotional, more understanding, more loving, kinder, you know, those kind of things that I did have, but not displayed to the extent that I'm displaying them now. I think also the right partner is very important, like very important, because, you know, what makes our relationship work more than anything is where we are now. Our previous relationships were very different to what we currently have. And we've learned lessons also from the previous relationships and how we used to parent. And I think most of what we're trying to do now as well is the correction, you know. So for instance, I mentioned I didn't have that much time because I was always working, you know, similar to him, you know, or sometimes not just working, but many other things, grooving, you know, those kind of things happen as you go along. But I think that's why when you find someone who complements you really well, you get to sit down and prioritize and say, actually, our kids and our family is the main priority. So everything else will still happen and still come, but this is what comes first. And I think a lot of it is us doing those corrections. And I think that's what the kids are enjoying as well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All the best with parenting and, you know.
Never-ending journey.
Yeah, I know, eh? All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So, yeah, sibonge kakhulu.